Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this month's Open Classroom webinar. I trust everyone is safe and well. Please excuse my voice today. I can promise you it is nothing more than good old man flu. Today's webinar is officially webinar 63 in our Open Classroom series, which began at the beginning of April last year. Please find video copies of the last 62 webinars on our website's webinar page. In today's webinar, we welcome back Christopher Smith, who many of you from the Free State, KZN and Mpumalanga will know well. During Chris's presentation today, please feel free to use the text chat service on your GoToWebinar app or web page to ask us any questions you may have during his presentation. After today's webinar, we will post a copy on our website in the webinar section. So, good afternoon again, Chris, and please take it away.
Thanks, Charles, and welcome everybody to this WebEx, where today we're going to be looking at some of the water functions. We're going to start off with boreholes. We'll then be looking at water age. Then we'll go over to water trace. We'll then look at our water backup files. Cool. Let's go and have a look at the boreholes. So on this project, you can see I've got the water coming into the site over here. And we're going to put a borehole over in this location over here. If we select the node, you can see water node is selected, and I'm in water mode. So I'm going to go over to water operations, and I'll go to edit node data. You can see it's preset demand, and it's currently set to 0. That's perfect. We can cancel that, and we can go and place a borehole in this location. So I'm going to go to our graphical and draw the borehole. I'll place it over here. It'll indicate the position is less than 1 meter from node 73. The borehole will be placed on the existing node, and I will say OK. We can then press escape to end that function, and we can then select the borehole itself. Currently, your boreholes might look like this. They might also look as a sphere. It all depends on your display settings. If we look at your water display settings, I've got the show water entities as 3D switched off. So that's why it's showing it as a 2D symbol. I can then right-click water operations and edit the borehole data. With the borehole data open, I can now start populating this information here. You will need to get a hydrogeological report before you can populate this item. So from the hydro report, we know that the recommended yield is 11 liters per second. We also know that the water at rest is 17 meters from the ground, and while operating it is 35 meters, and our pump intake, we're going to model it to be 38 meters below the ground. You are optional, you can give it a name as well. If we look at the equipment, we can press on the button with 3 dots on it. That will just bring in the information across. This information will be dependent on what's available in your area, what the suppliers or the manufacturers can supply you with. I'm going to use a diameter of 80, and I'm going to use a shaft diameter of 22 millimeters. I'm going to use a fixed delivery of 11 for now, and I'm going to press OK. I'm then going to run an analysis quickly, single step, and I'm going to use average demand and press the start. We can then look at the messages. We'll see we have no errors at this stage. We can close that. We can then go back to the node. So I've selected 2 items here. I'll just press escape and select the node and go to water operations, edit node borehole data. We can then go back to the equipment and we can switch this off. We can go to select a pump and we can go based on the single step analysis. We can select the average and we can choose to have a submersible pump or positive displacement. We can click on the search button and we can select from a range of pumps here. Some pumps do allow for adjusting the speed. Some pumps already are at the lowest speed, so it all depends on what the pumps are allowing for. I'm going to select this pump and I will then press OK. We can then go and run a single step analysis again and look for messages. There's no errors. So this pump is working for us, and that's how we would put a pump on a borehole onto our network. We now need to check how this setup is going to work over a 24-hour period, because remember, over a 24-hour period you have different demands from the consumers, and you've got different supplies going on from the pump to the reservoir. So we're going to run the analysis again, but this time we're going to do a time simulation. We're going to do the time simulation over 24 hours with 15-minute increments, and we will be doing it starting at midnight. I'm going to run the simulation and we can look for messages. You'll see that during the off-peak the reservoir starts to overflow. So let's sort out this overflowing issues at the reservoir. First of all, we need to go to the reservoir and have a look at the depth of it. So we'll look at editing the reservoir data. We can see that the initial water level is 3 meters, and we will then set ours to switch on at 3 meters, and we'll switch it off once it gets to almost 4 meters in depth. So let's go to our borehole. We'll then go to our controls. We'll keep it initial working. We'll do a level control, and we will choose the reservoir number, which was 1. We'd like it to switch on at 3 meters and to switch off at 3.95. So that all depends on the shape of your network, and remember that you also need to allow for that the pump switches on to always top up that it is above the reserves for firefighting or for working on the borehole. Okay, I will press OK and we can just zoom out again. I'm going to go to time simulation, run it again and look for messages. This time we don't have any warnings during the 24-hour period. So now I'm happy that we have a working borehole that is supplying water to the reservoir, and the reservoir is not running out or overflowing. One thing just to keep in mind when you go back to your level controls, so if we go there now and we go to the controls, you'll see that it says level control here, but it says pressure. And you actually need to change over to the level tab. The reason for that is because we can't have radial buttons here, because we would like you still to be able to use all of these controls, not just one of the controls. So that's why we have to have ticks and not radial buttons here. So just make sure that when you're here, you don't go and say, oh no, where's my values, and repopulate. You need to move over to the level control. Cool. That's just one little catch that you need to look out for when populating those cells. We're going to look at water age now in the network, and we're going to do this over a 24-hour period see where in the pipes the water is getting stagnant. You could perhaps run this over a 7-day event if you've got demand patterns that suit a 7-day demand event. I'm going to go to our analysis and we're going to do a time simulation. This time we will keep everything the same and do water quality. We will look at water age, and we can then run the analysis. You can just check if there's any messages, nothing, and we can close that. We can then go to our display settings. We can go to nodes, and we can populate the text for quality. So we can say quality or quality full. This one will give the units afterwards, so it's always better to use that one. You can use the color scheme for water quality, depending on the ramps and the increments you want to do. So let's do starting in increments of 1, just to see the color range. But then we just need to increase the symbol size. Let's make this maybe 5. So we can zoom in and see the colors of the circles will change. And this is linked to time of day. So you need to go through to the water display. You need to go browse down here to the results tab. And then you will be able to see your different times of day will have different ages of the water that's been sitting there. You will notice over here where the water is having different times of the day as well. Great. I hope that helps you with working out the age of the water in the pipe network. We can now look at water trace. That's normally when you've got 2 reservoirs and you want to know which reservoir is supplying which part of the town. So let's just quickly change our database for the water. I'm just going to go to the project settings, go across to our water file. I'll eventually get there. And we can then open that one up. It's fine. We can close this, and here we've got our 2 reservoirs. So let's look at a water trace from this reservoir, for instance. So if we go to running the analysis again, we can do a time simulation. We can do a trace this time, and we want to trace, so we're going to click on the 3 dots. We'd like to trace from this reservoir, so that's ID 7, and we can say OK. We can then start it and close. We can go to our display settings. We can look at the nodes. We can choose water quality full again, and we can say OK. Can then zoom in and you can see 100% of the water is coming from this lower node. You can see 100% is coming from this node. That's interesting. Then we can have a look at different times of days, because that is linked to different times of days, and there you can see at different times of the day water is coming from the other node as well. And you can see in this regard that this node that I've installed at the top really isn't needed, because most of the water is coming through the first reservoir. So this is also a great check to see here at 45 minutes past midnight. None of the water is running from that first reservoir. It's probably all coming through this reservoir here. That is how we do the water trace. I would just like to talk about the backups of the water files. I've been noticing with the latest Windows updates, some people's PCs have been freezing and getting the blue screen. When they return to getting their computer up and running, the water file has gone missing. We do create backups of the water file. So the quickest way to look for that is if we go to File, Project Settings, we look at the water, you can then just select this and you can go and say copy that. If I press Windows and E at the same time, I can come over here and paste that URL, and here you can see we've got all the different files. I've got my water files. You'll notice here that there is a wdf.back. So if you are struggling with your water file, you can always come here and you can select the file, choose to rename it, and you can rename the .back and press enter. I'm not going to do that because my project is open, but that is how you can recover a water file if it's not working before your Windows crashed. Let's go back to Civil Designer. We have some time, so I just want to move over to sewer and stormwater and talk about graphically marking items. So let's use the sewer model for this demo, and but you can apply what I'm going to speak about now to sewer and stormwater. Probably just turn off the water as well. So when we look at our networks, we have the ability to go to Graphical Mark. You can go and mark a single item, you can mark a branch, upstream, all, clear. You can mark from CAD selection. What they mean by CAD selection is if I've selected with using the crossing window or the window selection or the crossing selection. Once those are selected, you can go and graphically mark the CAD selected items. So you can add it or you can mark it, and you can also toggle to show it. These items will then become highlighted, and if you go to your display settings, you can choose to show your marked records as a different color. So we'll keep that as pink, and we'll keep the nodes and the links to be red in color. So let's go and zoom in just to see what it currently is. So here you can see it's pink. If I go to graphically mark clear, they should go red, yeah. So these are all cleared now, and I can choose to, for instance, I can choose to say graphically mark all or upstream or branch. I'm going to choose upstream, replace existing, and I'll mark from upstream from this pipe. So all of these pipes now become graphically marked. So what is the reason that we graphically mark these items? Well, the one is that you can go and export only the items that have been graphically marked. Another reason for having it is you can run the analysis only for the section of network that you have marked. Another item is to go and say quantities and only run the quantities on the section that you have graphically marked. And then we also have the set parameters. So you can change the parameters of either the nodes, the links, or the connections within the graphically marked items. And that is what we mostly use it for. You could go and say all the graphically marked links, I would like them to be for instance, 250D, and I would like the diameter to be 450, for instance. You could say OK, and you could zoom in, and there you can see it's a 450 and it's a 25D pipe. So that is the reason that we use the graphically marked items. I hope that helps. Please, as I said earlier, the graphically marking items is for sewer and for stormwater. I have already made a video on how to use the water groups for if you're working with water. So please look on YouTube for those videos on the water groups. Cool. I just want to touch on some of the licensing items that a lot of people have been asking us about. At the moment, 8.4 is cloud-based licensing, and there's two types of licensing. The one is standalone license, where the license sits on the PC, and that is for the single user license. Every 30 days it will need to connect to the internet and get a renew its license. And then the other license is the network license, which is the more economical one, where you would purchase two or more design center seats, and that would allow two or more people to be working with Civil Designer and sharing the design modules. For instance, one person working on stormwater, while another person working on roads, and then they can swap the licenses. If I go to Help About Civil Designer, you'll see that it says concurrent subscription. So that means that there's a concurrent license or a network license running over the internet. If you're not sure which, for instance, if you're getting an error message saying that you've run out of concurrent licenses when you start up Civil Designer, it's always good to go and have a look at the little widget to make sure to see who is using the licenses. We will send you a little license widget that looks like this, and you can then run that license key. You will then need to choose put in your license key over here. I'll place my license key in, and I will say I only want to see current activations only in HTML format. I can then place that on my desktop. I can even put it inside here, and we'll just give it a test name. Just created the license, so we can go and have a look, and you can see all the people in my office that are using that license key. You can also see which modules they are running, and this will just give you an indication of who's used all the licenses for that network license. Great, hope that helps. We've had a few people asking us about the licensing files becoming corrupt. This could be from a power failure or something out of your control. We're going to have a look at how to get to the license files. We could ask you to send us the license files. We could also ask you to delete all the license files. We'd ask you to press the Windows key. We get asked quite a lot, what is a Windows key? I've made a little diagram here. The Windows key sits between the Control and the Alt, or the Fin and the Alt, and it's at the bottom left of your keyboard. So all you need to do is press the Windows key and type RUN. That will bring up the run command. So after typing RUN, I press enter. So all I did was I pressed the Windows key. I then typed RUN and pressed enter. You'll then be asked to paste in a directory. I'll paste it in here, and that's going to take you to the app data. Now, it's not always easy to read out the path because different computers have different names. So this is the quickest and easiest way to get to that path. If I press enter, that'll open up the files. As I say, we could ask you to zip this up and send it to us, or we could ask you to delete it. That would be clear in the emails that you send to us, and our reply will tell you the steps. But this is just to show you how to get to the license files. I just want to touch on updates for the software. There is nothing wrong with using 8.3, or we encourage you to use 8.4 because it has all the latest features. But if you're using 8.3, you need to make sure that you're using the latest build for 8.3. If you're using 8.4, you need to make sure that you're using the latest build for 8.4. One way to do that is to go to Help, About Civil Designer, and do a version check. This will come back with either telling you that you've got the latest version, or it will give you a link to click on to download the latest patch. Another method is to make sure that you are in CAD mode, and then to go to Settings, System Settings, and to go to Version Check. here I set it to 1 day so that every morning it goes online, checks if there's a new version, and will give me a notification that there's a new version available. Would I like to download it? It would then give me a link to download that new version. This is very important, especially if you have any questions or if you've got any issues with a problem that you're experiencing in the software. It's more than likely that other people have reported it and it's already been resolved. So it is a lot quicker for you to go and just quickly check whenever you've got an issue, have I got the latest version? Great. From time to time, we're going to ask you to archive your project and send it to us to have a look at it. The easiest way to do that is to go to File, Archive Project. But I have a number of times where people have not sent me the actual project that they're working with. So just to double check you've got the right project, I always tell people to go to File, Save As, and then just to copy that link. So I'm going to copy that location. I'll then close this project. We can save that. And I'm going to go to File, New, File, Archive Project. I can then paste in that location and select the DR4 and press Open. I'll press OK, and now it would like to know where to save that file to. So I'm going to call this for support, and it's created that file and it's zipped it for me. So if I go to Windows E and I paste that path in again, there you can see I've got the location pasted there. Now you might want to be able to send it through to the support center, but the file is too big to fit on an email. So what you can do is you can launch your browser. I'm going to go to pressing on the new tab, and I'm going to go to Wetransfer.com. When you're inside Wetransfer, you will see that it will want an email address. Please don't choose this. It will create duplicate tickets and it will make Wetransfer the client. Rather click on the three dots, go over to Get Transfer Link, and click on the three dots again. You can then click on the Add File, and I can use that path once again over here. Select the for support and press Open. I can then give a message, or I can just ask for a link. The file will then upload. I can then click with the left mouse key. It will automatically copy it to my shortcuts, and I can go over to my emails. Inside my emails, I can paste the link for the Wetransfer for us to use. I can then say, dear support, please find attached the requested files. Please always send your emails to helpdesk@civildesigner.com. You might want to send it directly to myself or Andrew or to Cameron or to Cedric. However, this email address, helpdesk@civildesigner.com, is always monitored by at least 5 people at any given time, and you will get a much better response time using this email. I myself spend a great portion of my day monitoring these tickets and making sure that we are replying to the clients. So does Cameron and Andrew, and we will definitely make sure that you get a response on this. As where our direct email addresses, we could be in webinars or we could be in meetings and not able to reply to you as fast as this could. Great. I hope that helps you. Please do feel free to let us know if you've got any further questions. And that brings me to the end of my demo. Thank you very much for your time today. Please, if you have any questions, you're welcome to email us at helpdesk@civildesigner.com, and we'll gladly help you with any questions that you might be having. Thanks very much. Back to you, Charles.
Thank you very much, Chris. That was awesome. And thank you very much to all of you who attended today's webinar. Please remember, if you would like any further information with regards to Civil Designer, or you would like to request future webinar topics, please use the email address listed on your screens right now. Once again, thank you very much for your time today. Have a great afternoon, weekend, and goodbye for now.